guys, my name is Mayana. Welcome to Core, and today I'm going to be doing my makeup and talking about this book called Gothicana. I have read this book before, so I definitely did reread this book for you guys. So I really hope that you appreciate this because I had to sit through this book not only once but twice. And the first time, this book had so many fucking typos in it, it was insane. Yeah, I really want to review this book because it matched my September theme. I try to theme my reading and my videos like a theme. This book has a 3.8 rating on Goodreads, which is way too high for this book. I cannot wait for us to get out of this era where people are literally just reading anything and like authors are targeting their books towards people who read on BookTok. But it's like now, like quite literally the worst books ever are being written, and not only are they being written but they're also given high ratings. So it's like these authors aren't learning like how to like develop their writing and things like that because they're given these really high ratings for these really shitty books. So they're obviously going to think that they're so good, and there's so many fans and people telling them that these books are good but they're not, but whatever. So yeah, anyways, I want to review this book because I try to theme my reading and my books every month. And so this month theme is back to school, because if you guys don't know, I am going back to school. Speaking of back to school, one of my favorite things is being organized, and now that I am in college, there's nothing I want more than to be organized. One of my favorite apps to use to be organized is Notion. I love it, but I have a very simple view of Notion. Like I don't really know like how to use it, so I have been using Skillshare to help me learn how to use Notion, and it has been so much help. Luckily for me, Skillshare is sponsoring this video. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts across film, illustration, design, freelance, productivity, and more. Skillshare can help you take your career, skills, hobbies, passions, or side hustles to the next level. Skillshare has announced some improvements. They have a new and improved class system, including smarter class choices, 3 new class topics, including creative careers, creative inspiration, and AI and innovations. Also have the ability to find classes by software and material. New members are asked to share a little bit about their interests, and from there, Skillshare immediately surfaces recommendations tailored to their goals. There are so many classes that you can take on Skillshare, such as creative writing, writing and publishing, video editing, and more. I actually found one of my favorite YouTubers, Jordan Teresa, do a class on video essays. So of course I had to take a lesson from her. The lesson took all of 12 minutes and I left feeling as if I had learned so much more than what I had already knew about video essays. I also was so happy to find this class because she was the one who inspired me to do video essays, so I felt like it was such a full circle moment. And like I mentioned earlier, I've been taking a Notion masterclass which was taught by Ali Abdal, and I also felt like I learned so much more, so now I can organize my Notion in the way that I want to for school. The first 500 people to sign up using the link in my description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. And thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Okay, so I will not be using my microphone in this video because I cannot hold a microphone and hold my mirror and do my makeup at the same time. I only have 2 hands. The book starts off in Vad's POV, and Vad is the love interest, but something you should know about him is that he is the professor in this book. This is a teacher-student romance, which I read this book twice. And so the first time I read this, I did not know it was a teacher-student romance, or I would not have read it because it's just not my forte. It's just not my thing. They are in college. He is a college professor and she's a student, but it just doesn't do anything for me. Okay, so this starts off in his POV, and in this POV you learn that when he was 7, he was in an all-boys home, and in this home there was this woman named that they would call Old Lady Zelda, and she could predict things. So she would predict a lot of the boys' deaths, a lot of like big events in their lives, and she would just predict things. And Vad was very terrified of her. I'm assuming because he didn't want her to predict his death. But one day she gives a prediction for him anyways, and it's not his death. It is that she predicts that he is going to go to a castle, meet a girl with purple eyes, and there will be many deaths. Very vague, and not like the other guys. The other guys they got like their deaths predicted and things like that. So in the next chapter, you are introduced to the main character, this book that this will be following, which is Corvina. You only get 2 POVs from that in the story, which is the beginning and the end. Corvina's POV takes place a few years after Vad's, and it's really just it's not really much. One thing that I want to share about the story is that this story gives knock off Wednesday Addams in Hogwarts. Kind of basically the show Wednesday, but this book was written before Wednesday, and despite it being written before Wednesday, it has a lot of similarities to Wednesday that I just think is very ironic. But this book heavily is like Hogwarts inspired. Like there are a lot of like Harry Potter things going on in here, but also at the same time like Wednesday Addams galore. Okay, so Corvina is homeschooled. She also doesn't have a dad. Her dad committed suicide right when she was born, so she doesn't have a father, and she's homeschooled. And she's homeschooled because her mom hears voices that says things like, don't talk to people, Corvina needs to be homeschooled, and that she can't leave the town or they will take her away, and that she can't talk to anyone or they'll take her away. And I'm just gonna tell you now, her mom has schizophrenia. I don't really like how the schizophrenia rep is. I don't play about like schizophrenia, something I'm very serious about. I guess I don't really talk about it on my channel a lot, but schizophrenia is something that I'm very serious about because I have 2 family members with schizophrenia and someone in my immediate family with schizophrenia. And so it's just something I don't like jokes about it. Like on Twitter, like I don't play about schizophrenia. I want the rep to be good. I want it to be genuine. I don't want it to just be something that you're writing about in your little dark romance book to make everything seem a little bit scarier. Like I'm very serious about it. Then you actually get into the book, and immediately she gets a letter from the school called Vermore that invites her to come. She's 21 years old, so it's a college, but everything is like, it's a college but it's like a high school. Like everything about it just seems like high school, but whatever. So she gets invited to Vermore, and it's literally like Harry Potter. Like she never applied to go there, she's never heard of it before, she's never heard anyone talk about it before, and it's handwritten. And she's like, what the fuck, like how am I, she's been homeschooled her entire life, how the fuck did she get this handwritten letter from this random ass fucking school? The author beats over your head how different the main character is from everybody. She has purple eyes, she loves wearing all black. Everyone isolated her because they think that her mom is a witch, even though her mom isn't. They just think that she is, and they live in like the outer skirts of the city, and she's just so different from everyone else. Just not a normal girl because she has purple eyes and wears all black, and she's just not normal. Immediately she goes to the school, and I don't know if this lady was a vice principal or what she was, but immediately the lady is like, you're gonna be roommates with this girl named Jade. And so Jade comes in and she's like, oh my gosh, hey girly. And it's so funny because, like I said earlier, this book was written before Wednesday. This book came out June 2021. Wednesday came out 2022. And Jade is, and I'm bringing this up because Jade is literally Enid. Like, blonde, very hyper, very friendly, very, oh my gosh, we're gonna be the best of friends. But unlike Wednesday, Corvina isn't like opposed to it. Like she's like, whatever, you know, she's like, like this girl is kind of fucking hyper, but whatever. So yeah, so she gets introduced to Jade, who is now her roommate. And she's like very friendly, and they end up like walking past some guy, and the guy is like, careful with Jade, because her roommate jumped off the top of the castle, and implied that Jade did something. But then later you find out that him and Jade were together when she jumped. Like they were together with each other when they saw her jump. So I'm like, okay. Basically Jade ends up explaining that her old roommate Alyssa killed herself. She jumped off the top of the roof like she was a very happy girl, everything was going fine, but it's like you don't fucking know her, so it's like how could you say that? Like I hate throughout this book that whenever someone commits suicide they're like, oh but, and it's like it's very obvious that something more is, it's like the author's trying to hit that something more is going on, but it's like she didn't want to write that like the people were investigating in this, so instead of making it seem like they were a murder, it looked like a suicide. But then they would go, oh but these people were like very happy, and it's like, okay, but even the happiest of people will commit suicide because you don't know them and you don't know their personal lives. But it's like everyone's suicide was just like, oh my gosh, but they were so happy, so how could this happen? And it's like, girl, you don't know anybody's fucking life story, even if you are her roommate. But yeah, she's like, yeah, the only thing that was going on was she broke the only rule that we have, which is that you can't date the teachers. And I'm like, isn't that fucking like, duh, you can't fucking date the teachers. What do you mean it's the only rule we have? Duh, you can't fucking date your teacher. This isn't Pretty Little Liars. Like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Like, duh. So she ends up finding out that the girl was hooking up with this teacher named, his name was Dorvel, or I don't remember. Like, I know their last name, but I was like, Dorvel. His fucking entire name was just fucking stupid, to be honest. Dorvel? What the Then Corvina randomly starts pulling tarot cards, and she pulls the death card, and it's like, ooh, spooky, oh my gosh. And it's like made out to be like a dramatic scene, but I just hate it because the context and what I do tarot cards. These aren't even my only ones. I do tarot, okay? Apparently the author does tarot, but there's this common thing that happens in this book where nothing in these tarot cards are ever interpreted. Like, it's always just, she pulled this card, and then it's like, you're supposed to be like, dun dun dun, and it's like, okay, but if you're somebody who doesn't know tarot, you're gonna read it and you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, the death card. But it's like, the thing with the death card is, the death card is about transformation. If she wanted to be really spooky, she would have pulled the Tower card. Oh my gosh, I actually stopped really doing tarot because I would get the Tower card often, and just know when you get the Tower card, your ass is about to essentially jump off the fucking tower. But also, I wish she would have interpreted, like, she did. I will say, when I first read this book, I don't really remember her doing tarot all that much. I will say in this version, she did tarot cards at least 2 more times after that, but she never interprets anything. Like, it's just like, she pulled the 2 of Cups, she pulled the Death card, and it's like, if you don't do tarot, you're not gonna know what the fuck that means. And also, the thing is, with tarot readers, is everyone has a different interpretation of everything. So like, I'm looking at the Death card and I'm like, okay, well, things are definitely about to transform. Like, she's going to this new school, she's making all these friends, she's never had friends before. It's obviously a teacher student romance, so literally her life is about to transform. And I mean, I guess, yeah, that was right because that does happen in this book, but what was her interpretation for it? We never know. And it's just like, she pulled the death card, and in the scene it's like used as if death is supposed to be like, oh, there's gonna be a lot of death surrounding the school, but that's not what the fucking death card is. But we don't know what the author meant by it because the character never interprets it. And I know it's not that serious, but it's just an issue that I have, because it's like, we don't know what the issue is because the author never has the character interpret anything. So Corvina ends up meeting Vad because she's wandering around the castle and she stumbles upon him playing the piano. And these characters have stupid names and their eyes are special colors. Like, Corvina's is Vad, and Corvina's is purple and Vad is silver. And throughout the book, it's always purple met silver, and purple looked at silver, and purple and the point where purple and silver meet. And it's just so fucking stupid because this book isn't a fantasy novel. I don't give a fuck about how apparently it's marketed as a fantasy novel. This book is not a fantasy novel, okay? This book takes place in our world. It doesn't really have any magic. Like, the book like teeters upon witchcraft being real and witchcraft not being real, but it doesn't develop any magic system strong enough for it to be real. And it's like, I guess it could be like, oh, our world, if we could actually do magic, like genuinely, like if magic were real, like type of shit. But it's like, it's not. So I've never read a book. outside of a fantasy where characters have special eyes, and it's just like this author trying so hard to make her characters different, so when people draw fan art, it's like super special because this is different. It's like going beyond the realm of like not like other girls in this book, but like not like other girls in other romance novels. Like if you compare all the romance novels together, dark romances, whatever, this book is different because these characters have purple and silver eyes, and that's just not a thing in our world. And it's just like, it's not doing anything for me. I'm like, I don't care. It just feels like the author just wants this character to be so unique so bad. She's just so much different than everyone else. She's just so much more, she's so beautiful without knowing it. She has these beautiful purple eyes that everyone's obsessed with, and they all call her purple, and she wears all black, and she's just not, what fucking ever. Anyways, so basically Jaden and Corvina are talking, and Jade tells Corvina about this masquerade ball that happens every 5 years, and it's literally Harry Potter. That's literally Harry Potter, but whatever. This book could not have copied Harry Potter more. Like, this just feels like Hermione fan fiction. Like, Corvina is Hermione, Vad is Draco, but if he were Snape, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, it's this ball where everybody was missing, and you probably are thinking, okay, well, if people go missing every year, why don't they stop the ball? Oh, because when they stopped the ball completely, people still went missing, so people just started, the ball was just so important to everybody that they just started back up again because people are gonna go missing anyways. And they also don't call the police, by the way, for anything in this book. And it's like, okay, real, because what does the police do? Like, what do they actually do? Like, they're, if we're being real, like, what actually fucking help are they? But at the same time, it's like, you're not even gonna try. Like, all these damn white kids that go to the school, I'm sure they would do. Rich white kids, oh, the police would actually do something. Like, please, let's be real. And you probably think, oh, like, okay, well, if they stopped the ball and people didn't stop going missing and they started back up again, so maybe like 5 or 6 people went missing. No, over 20 people went missing. This thing has been going on for 100 years. And they just continue to have the ball. So anyway, so they go to class, and it's revealed that the guy playing the piano was their teacher, Vad. It's like, oh my gosh. Like, at least she didn't hook up with him before. You know, at least she didn't hook up with him. At least this wasn't no Pretty Little Liars shit where they hook up. Because, oh my gosh, every student teacher romance I read, it's like, oh my gosh, I went to the bar and I met this super hot, attractive guy, and we hooked up, and then I found out he was my teacher. And it's like, okay, girl. Well, at least it's not that. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just feel like it's so overused in teacher-student plots. So at least it's not that. But yeah, so they find out he's a teacher, but he's also a student, and he's getting his doctorate, but he's allowed to teach for some bullshit reason that like low-key doesn't make sense. I don't remember. Damn, I just realized my camera's gonna overheat, and what am I gonna do if my camera overheats before I'm done doing my makeup? I'm gonna just come back with this shit finished. But yeah, so I'm really trying hard not to nitpick things so we aren't here forever. But there's just always something to say. And there's this part where the this classmate asks her what her name means. And then Vad answers it and says it means crow. And she corrects him and says raven. And he continues to call her little crow throughout this book. Sometimes even like in class in front of the students, which I thought was like really fucking weird, but whatever. Then after class, Jay says that everyone like felt the tension in that room. And it was just like, kind of weird because it was just like Jade's always like, you need to be careful, you need to be careful, you need to be. And then, but anyways, this girl named Erica walks up, who's never been brought up before, but walks up to them, and she's like, oh my gosh, the tension was crazy and everyone could feel it. And they were saying that like he looked at Corvina like he wanted to eat her alive. And all I'm saying is, if I was in that class, I would have reported both their asses. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, bitch, I'm sitting here trying to learn and you sitting here trying to fuck each other. Like, girl, be fucking serious. And they were in college, so it's like at the same time they're like both adults. I would have reported his ass because ew. So then they're talking to Jay's like, oh well, the last girl that went missing was with him. And it's like trying to imply that like he's really weird, so you should stay away from him. But it's like if it was that serious, he would have. Well, I would have been like, oh, if it was that serious, he would have been investigated. But no, because they don't do shit to investigate shit in this book. So I guess not. So then Corvina's like hanging out in the woods talking to a crow. Damn, my camera is overheating. Well, about to finish my makeup. Okay, we're back. And I didn't finish my makeup for this video. She's in the woods and Vad comes up to her being weird as fuck and trying to scare her. like, and she just doesn't give a fuck. Like, there's this point where she's talking to the crow and he's like, oh, why didn't you get scared? And she's like, because the bird is familiar with you, and if he wasn't familiar with you, he would have ran away, but he didn't, so that shows that you come out here very often. He's trying to scare her. Oh, I'm a devil, I'm so evil, I'm so scary. That's how I pictured him to talk in my head, by the way. And he's like, you interest me, and let's just say that's not a good thing. And it just reminds me of like the Bad Boys and the Wattpad stories. Like, honestly, this book, if this book was on Wattpad, this would be really good. But it's a published book, therefore my standards are higher, and it's terrible. And then a bunch of students see her come out the woods, and they're like, they jump her ass, they are attacking her. They're like, what the fuck are you doing with a teacher? Like, you know that shit don't go. I don't know what kind of fucking hippy dippy school you done came from, but even though she was homeschooled, they're like, I don't know what kind of fucking hippy dippy shit you come from, but we don't do that weird shit here, okay? You don't sleep with your fucking teacher. And they like basically, like, it's like 3-4 of them like jumping her ass, rightfully so, because we done told you 80 times don't sleep with the fucking teacher, and here you go cozying up with this man that we told you not to cozy up to. You don't fucking listen. You don't listen, and that's your problem. They start implying that she was sleeping with him even though she wasn't. It doesn't help because the next day in class, Vad gets mad because one of the students called her purple, and he like because of her eyes, and he like ostracizes the guy and like points him out, and it just doesn't, Vad's not helping her case, she's not helping the case. Like, it's just all bad. So then there's a scene where, oh, this book is just so corny. Like, there's a scene where he goes, steer clear of me, siren, I'm a mad pirate. I literally audibly, I'm reading a book. First of all, I'm reading a book laying in my bed. My face is like this the entire time I'm reading. They're fucking weird, and not in like, oh my gosh, they're so weird. Like, they're weird in the sense of like, they're like that weird ass couple in high school that like, you like, they're so fucking weird, and you're like, how come they get to find love and I'm fucking normal and I'm struggling, you know? And then Vad and like Vad and Corvina are talking, and he explains that the only reason why he slept with Alyssa, which was Jade's old roommate, was because he didn't know that she was a student. Some Pretty Little Liars ass shit, right? And there's a part where it's kind of a smut scene, but not really. I kind of don't want to go into it because it was really disturbing, and it just wasn't cute to me. It was just weird. Like, I don't know, when you have real life experiences with men, the type of shit that you read about in dark romances just gets so weird. Like, when you have real life encounters with men, it's like, when you actually talk to real life men and then you read these like dark romances, it's like, if a man actually did this shit to me in this phase, when we were like this phase, I would have called the police. Would they have shown up? Probably not, but they would have gotten called. Like, ugh, like, he like puts his hand in her skirt, in her pants, in her underwear. Oh, also she doesn't wear underwear, which, like, I know a lot of people thought that was like cringe, but I don't wear underwear either. So but I did think it was weird that she didn't really pack any underwear, because like, girl, don't you have a period? And also, like, I don't go around just not wearing underwear. Like, you can't do that. That's how you get yeast infections. So it's like, all right, but, and you're like, I don't know. But yeah, so he like reaches in her skirt, and she's not wearing any underwear because she didn't pack any, and he's like, what do you think he did when he reached in there? Okay, figure it out. I don't want to go into it. I'm sorry, I know that's the point of this video, but I just really don't want to. It was already bad enough for me to read it. Now I have to tell you. No. I'm not even a prude. I just really hate teacher-student relationships. And like I said, after you have real life experiences with men, a lot of the shit that you read about in romance books, like dark romance books, a lot of the shit that you read about in them, it just becomes like really fucking weird, because you start imagining like, what the fuck, what if this did happen to me in real life? And Corvina and Co, her friends, are walking through the woods, and they explain to her that there were these students called the Slayers that kidnapped and murdered a bunch of villagers, and then there's like this random POV 8 chapters in called The Unknown, and mind you, this is like 100 pages into it on my Kindle, But also, that person never gets that random unknown POV never gets a POV ever again. Like, it's just that one time 8 chapters in. It's not like, oh, every 8 chapters, every 100 pages. No, they get a POV and then they never get one again. Then Corvina has a dream where her mom tells her that the devil is coming. And I'm guessing that's supposed to be bad, but it's just like, and I'll go into this more later, but it's just like, it's not that serious. Like, he keeps referring to himself as a devil, she keeps referring to him as a devil. It's really not that, like, this is a normal, like, everyday. This isn't like a fantasy. Like, I can see if this was like they were actually witches or vampires or some shit, but it's like, this is an everyday novel. This is like if you were going to college and this random boy in the class just keeps referring to himself as a devil, you would be like, this is not some fucking anime, bitch. This is real life. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And this book just tries too hard to be dark. Corvina and Vad meet in the woods on accident again, and she calls him strange looking, but in a good way, which I thought that scene was fucking hilarious because she basically just called that bitch ugly. But, and then he's like, okay, so who do you think is conventionally attractive? And she says this guy named Jax, who's her friend, and Vad points out that they were holding hands and flirting earlier. And Vad's like, you can't want me, I want girls who end up getting hurt. And they flirt some more, and Corvina is like, this is just lust. And then Vad responds, no, Corvina, I've known lust. This is much worse. This is barbaric. This is the barbaric need to eliminate, to own. This is madness. So you mean lust? And who the fuck are you trying to eliminate? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And then it's also like the amount of times that this book mentions madness is fucking like, and it takes away from the actual story. Like, if this was mentioned like 1 or 2 times, yes. I'm telling you, every other page is, every time they talk, they always talk about like madness or whatever. Fucking weird. So then they kiss, and then they're like, JK, never happened. So then Corvina goes back to her room and pulls cards, and she pulls the devil, and the tower, and the lovers, which are the same cards that her mom pulled for her in a dream. But like I said, she never interprets the cards, so we don't know what it's meant. It's literally like, I pulled out my deck, I pulled the devil, the tower, the lovers. And then it's like, the chapter ends, so it's supposed to be like a dun 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 moment. So it's like, I can interpret it, but it's like, I don't know. Corvina and Vad are like that one Vine where there's this couple and they're sitting head to head in this restaurant, and this guy's like, what the fuck? Is this allowed? What the fuck? Is that allowed? Stop. But it's like, the entire book is equivalent to that Vine. We're just like, what the fuck? Like, what are y'all doing? So Corvina wants another kiss, even though she knows she can't. And Vad is like, okay. So Corvina goes, so possess me then. And I just don't understand, like, how people, I just don't understand. It's just fucking corny. So possess me then. You are normal, everyday fucking people. Every fucking day. Like, weird shit. I'm not trying to sit here and pretend like I'm some normal girl. No, I'm into some weird shit, okay? I was a weird girl who grew up to be pretty, not a pretty girl who ended up being weird, okay? So I know some weird shit. These people are fucking losers and they're fucking weird, and that's coming from me. Anyways, so they finally smash, and that's around chapter 11. So he avoids her for some days, and then he corners her because when he thinks he thinks she hooked up with somebody else, even though she was a virgin. So you basically saying like, oh, we just had sex, and the moment you lose your virginity. Also, they lost her virginity. She lost her virginity in the backseat of a car, which, real. And then so it's like, okay, bitch, so I just lost my virginity, and you think that I'm what? Now you think I'm just about to be out here with everybody? Which, I mean, I would love a romance book where the girl was just a fucking slut. Like, I would just love a romance book where a girl just got around and it wasn't, oh, I'm a virgin, be soft, I'm a virgin, and I know how to do flips on the dick even though I'm a virgin 5 minutes ago. I would just love a book where the girl could just be a whore, like, know how to handle it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But no, she has to be a goody fucking two shoes. But whatever. I'm sure some guys would have smashed her weird ass in her own town. But so yeah, he thinking she has sex with some other people. Rena actually stands up for herself, and that's something I appreciate about this book, is that like in a lot of romance books, like especially dark romance books, like the guy, you know, he'll be possessive and he'll be like, oh, who the fuck else you sleep with? And she's like, oh my gosh, no one, like please, like no one. And it's like she never stands up for herself in the romance books, but I feel like Corvina actually did, and I can appreciate that, I will say. So then Vad tells Corvina he knows her secret, and she starts crashing the fuck out, and she won't even look at him, and he's like, give me those eyes. And I just feel like, I don't know, the writing is just like, I feel like people don't talk like this, even for a dark academia, which this is dark academia. Like I will say, like it has like the murder, takes place in the school, blah blah blah, but it's just not good. And the book has a habit of saying he when referring to Vad, and you just don't know like what the fuck. Like it'll be like it'll say his name, like it'll be like, oh, Mr. Dorvell, and then it'll just go he for pages on pages, and it's like, obviously I know who she's talking about, but it's just like, I just feel like that's not, like writing wise, that's such an interesting choice, because usually a good author would write his name so that you, at every few pages, so that you would know who she's talking about. I mean, it's usually just them two, so it's like, who the fuck else? But I just found that very interesting. But she would just refer to him as Mr. Dorvell, or Silver Eyes, or the Silver-Eyed Devil, like she just, or just him. But she never really said Vad very often. Corvina wakes up in Vad's bed, and then she leaves his side of the balcony tower. So she runs into the principal or whatever, and the principal was like, what are you doing over here? And she's like, oh, like I was just going on my night walk or whatever. And she's like, you know that like being with the teacher is forbidden. And she's like, and Corvina's like, no, like I was just going for a night walk. And the teacher's like, I mean the principal's like, I would believe you, but you're literally in the same outfit I just saw you in yesterday, bitch. And that shit looked like it was slept in. Like, let's be fucking for real. That's it. She goes back to her room. And then this guy named Troy kills himself. He jumps off the tower. And he wasn't really important up until then, so I kind of forgot about him. But I do like that this book has, like, she had like friends, and there were other characters mentioned, so it's not just her being alone or her and Jade. Like there's other guys, but I mean the guys were used to make Vat jealous, so it wasn't like real friendship, because they were just there for plot devices. But whatever. Anyways, so like I mentioned earlier, it's finally revealed that Corvina's mom and dad both had schizophrenia, and Corvina's dad actually killed himself because if he hadn't died, then they were gonna die. And I just don't really like, it wasn't bad. Rena checked herself into a hospital to get checked out, and because she has this voice named Mo that I forgot to mention, but she has this voice named Mo in her head, and the doctor was like, yeah girl, you're fine. And she's like, what about Mo? And they're like, it's probably just like a coping mechanism, like whatever, he's fine. Even though I think it's fucking not. You just find out that her mom has been in the hospital the whole time. Rena doesn't have it, even though I think she does. And this book just uses like madness and mental health as like something sexy, like hot, like, ooh, I need me a mentally ill girl type of thing. Like, you know, that whole like, oh, I need me a mental ill girl, you know, that guys say so that guys can manipulate the girl or whatever. But it just doesn't feel like, I don't know, this whole like madness thing just feels like a whole like the Joker basically, but like in real life, like a whole like, oh, I need, like we're all mad here, like we're all crazy, like I don't know how to explain it, but it just doesn't feel like genuine. I just like it, I just wish it was written a lot better is basically what I'm trying to say. So then after the serious talk, they go back to being weird. They go back to saying weird shit to each other, and he's like, you've haunted me for so long, little crow. And I hate it because it just feels like this book thinks it's a lot darker than what it is. Like, I don't know. It's like, I think this book thinks it's like this super dark gothic tale. And it's just like a student-teacher romance that takes place in a castle, bitch. Like, it's not. I mean, she's very decent at writing the atmosphere. Like, she'll have Corvina walking around in her nightgown with a candle. But it's also like, you're at a school, so why are you doing that? Like, why are you walking around in that? You're only doing this because you go to school in the castle, bitch. Like, come on now. Anyways, whatever. And it's just like, it's trying so hard to be dark, and it's like, this man is just a teacher. Like, I can see if this was like, he was like a if he was like a killer, or he was in a mafia or something. This man is an everyday man with a job. Okay? This is like if somebody were to write a dark office romance, which I'm sure there are out there. Or like when, like how dark hockey romances are a thing, and it's like, what the fuck is dark about hockey? It's like, this man is a fucking teacher at the end of the day. Like, come on now. So then a character named Ajax is introduced, and Ajax is the eldest brother of Troy, and he's basically at the school to figure out what happened to his brother, rightfully so. And it's also revealed that Ajax and Vad went to the same all-boys home. And then Ajax also tells Corvina about the prophecy, and like how old lady Zelda like prophesied he would go to a castle, meet a girl with purple eyes, and there would be a lot of death. Ajax gives Corvina this information that only investigators know, which is that Vad's grandfather adopted him from the home, and then he fell down the stairs and broke his neck. But it's mysterious because the stairs were at a distance where it's like, if you fell down, you wouldn't have caused damage. And then right after that, Vad inherited all of his grandfather's money. Then it's revealed that the castle in Vermore legally belongs to Vad. And then there's another character named Zoe who's introduced, but she's not alive, she's dead. But she disappeared during the last ball, and she was Ajax's girlfriend. And honestly, she kind of doesn't have much importance, I don't believe, from what I recall. After that, Corvina's like, oh my gosh, who are you? You're a stranger. And it's like, duh, girl, you've known him for less than a year. Of course he's a fucking stranger. And then they have sex, and Vad is like, you know who I am? Question mark. I am slam your slam madness. Not fucking serious. This bitch, I know this author did not write this shit and be like, yeah, I'm eating this shit up. Like, bitch is about to love this. Alright, girl. Then Vad is telling Corvina the truth about the Slayers, and how his grandfather had a map of the school, and he knew secret passageways, dungeons, and woods that no one else knew, and he had this map that was passed down in his families. And I'm like, bitch, the Marauders? This is literally fucking Harry Potter. This is literally fucking Harry Potter. So the truth is that the grandfather's girlfriend was a witch. And then the grandfather and his friends took this maid because his girlfriend said that they could make her do things. So they experimented on her, then they accidentally killed her. They hid her body, and then they got drunk off the power, so they started doing this to other people. People found out what happened, and the Slayers were lynched, and the girlfriend cursed them all with her dying breath, which is crazy to me because you were killing people. Innocent people. And you gonna curse me? And that's just not how witchcraft works. Like, witchcraft is very much what happens to what you do unto others will happen to you. Maybe I don't know what kind of fucking witchcraft she studied though. I don't know. Vad enlisted the help of Zoe, and they found a shack in the woods that looked like it had been lived in, but then Zoe disappeared. And also it was mentioned earlier that Vad and Zoe had a threesome with Ajax, or Ajax and Vad had a threesome with Zoe. And then Vad was like, but I would never do that with you because you're mine and only mine. And that would just piss me off because it's like, girl, you get to have all this fun, but when it comes to me, I can't have no fun because I'm all yours. I could not be in no like, oh, you're only mine type of relationship. Like, girl, you gonna have to learn how to share. I don't know. Corvina gets this dream that the bodies of the lake, so everybody goes to the lakes. It is also revealed that Vad had saw Corvina before. Like, he was like, he ended up finding her mom, and then he saw Corvina, and he's like, oh my gosh, the girl with the purple eyes. So very predatory, if you ask me. Grooming. I know she is 21. I don't know how old she was when he saw her though, so it could very possibly be grooming. But it's supposed to be like this sexy thing, like, oh, I saw you before and you're the reason why you're here. And it's just kind of like, it's giving predatory behavior, actually. So there's just so many things in this book that are beat over your head, like the fact that Purple and Silver Eyes always meet, and the fact that he thinks of himself as a devil. and the fact that they're both mad and that she's a witch, and um and just once again I will repeat that these are very normal everyday people. Like, I can see if this even took place. I actually don't know what time this book takes place. Like, it's just not really hinted at. They don't really have used phones. I mean, she walks through the castle at night with the fucking lamp. I mean, with the fucking candle and a fucking nightgown. So you actually don't know. But the ball is happening. Jade goes missing. And then everybody's like, oh my gosh. Like, Jade and this other person goes missing. So then everybody's like, oh my gosh. They find the other person, but they don't find Jade. And then Jade ends up popping up when Karina is alone. And she kidnaps Karina and poisons her. Karina's like totally fine. And Jade confesses that she's a witch and her grandma was one of the slayers. And that she found out how to control people with a powder that was called like devil's breath or something like that. And Jade says grandmother escaped, which whatever, her grandmother escaped and had her mom. And then Jade also low-key admits that her mom essayed her dad because she said that the powder controls people and that her dad didn't want her, but her dad didn't want her mom, but her mom wanted to. So her mom used the powder on her father and then had her. So Karina asked Jade about the people that went missing, like the people that went missing during the masquerade ball. And Jade's like, I don't know, ain't got nothing to do with me, ain't got nothing to do with my grandma. And I know that the author wrote like, oh, sometimes questions don't get answered. But to me, that just felt like a cop-out. Like, I could see like, oh, everybody could just be like, oh, like the curse was real. This book was not witchy enough for it to be like that was the case, to be honest. And it's just like, it was such a, I just feel like the author was lazy. Like, the author is not good enough to be one of those kind of authors where it's like, oh, sometimes questions just don't get answered. Like, you're not that good, girly. I'm sorry to tell you. So then Jade admits that she did all this because she was obsessed with Vad, and Vad is her cousin. Right? Because Jade's grandmother had her mom. Who was the baby daddy? Vad's grandfather. Meaning that they're cousins. And Jade is in love with Vad, her cousin. This is some flowers in the attic type shit, okay? And now that's gothic. Now flowers in the attic, now that's some gothic media, okay? That ain't, why is it that a lot of gothic media has like incest in it? Anyways, whatever. She's in love with that, and she wants him because their doorbells and their blood would be stronger together, as if this is a fucking George R.R. Martin book. While this is happening, the voices in Karina's head is literally arguing. Like, one voice is being like, kill her, and then Mo is like, no, you need to focus. Vad comes in and he basically is like, yeah, I knew it was Jade behind it the whole time. Like, everything that goes on under Vernon Moore is all my business. Like, I know everything that happens under here. So it's like, if you knew but you didn't want to do anything. And that was Corvina's roommate, and you're obsessed with her, and you're always talking about how you would literally kill for her and all this stuff, but you let her stay with this girl who was killing people. Anyway, so then it's like this whole like thing where it's like, it's trying to make it seem like Vad and Jade are working together, and he's like, yeah, like, I'll help you, whatever. But then he like pushes Jade and she dies. So it's like, and there was a second where Corvina was scared, and she's like, oh my gosh, like, I've been set up, like, I'm so fucking stupid. Which, yes, you are, but I guess not in that moment. Vad gets another POV, which wasn't important, and there's another Corvina scene after that. And then there's the epilogue where you learn that they live happy together and they have a dog, and she's just like a stay-at-home girlfriend, and she doesn't really work, and she just spends her time studying, which is like, okay, cool. And the book ends with Corvina writing a fictional gothic romance called Gothicana. And unlike this book, I hope that book flops. I think this book did way too well for the shitty writing that it was, especially like, okay, now that the book has been rewritten, like I can kind of, it honestly doesn't see any, I don't understand why this would be anybody's favorite book. Now I can kind of see why it has good ratings, because before the book had so many typos. When I first read it, like there was so many fucking typos in that book, it was insane. I was like, I don't know how people are reading this book and loving it. It was very distracting. This is the appeal of this book if you like read for fun, but as someone who reads critically, this is just not, she's not that girl.